Okay. All right. So, good morning, everyone. My name is James. I work with Income Dev Center, infrastructure and DevOps team. So I'm actually a DevOps engineer with the Income Dev Center. So this morning I'll be talking on security best practices in DevOps lifecycle. Security best practices in DevOps lifecycle. I'm sure we have heard the word DevOps a few times. Some of us, maybe the first time. Some of us may have heard it several times. And we may be trying to get to understand what DevOps is and then what the security best practices is. And I'm sure we all know that. Let me move this to the next page. Okay, so then our table of contents, we're looking, like I said, introduction. We look at introduction to DevOps and then security. Then we'll now look at importance of security in DevOps, key security practices in different stages of DevOps, then tools and technology for DevOps security, then look at question and answer, then conclusion. Now, while we're going to make progress on this, so we'll start first thing first, like I said, introduction to DevOps and then security. Now, introduction of DevOps and security. But before we dive deep into that, at least first thing first, it will be good to understand what exactly DevOps is. When we understand what DevOps is, then we'll now start talking about the security part of it. Because the thing is this, if you do not understand what DevOps is, then if we start talking about the security, it's definitely not going to make so much of sense, because we'll just look as though I'm talking in abstract, so you might not really understand it. So first of all, look at what DevOps is. Then before we now talk about the security part of it. Now, what is DevOps? DevOps is a set of practices that does what? That combines software development, that's dev, and IT operations, that's ops, which is the IT operations. Its primary aim is to do what? Is to shorten the systems of development lifecycle and provide continuous delivery with what? With high software quality. And DevOps is built on a culture of collaboration, integration, and automation to deliver software faster and more reliable. Now, from all of the whole things I've just read out here, I'm going to pick one or two things, then I'll talk on them. Like I said, DevOps is what? A set of what? Practices that combines what? Software development. Please just give me 30 seconds, please. Sorry, everyone. You need to quickly. So, like I said, a DevOps is what? A set of practices that does what? That combines software development, right? That's development, and then IT operations, which is operations. Now, that's the first thing I want to talk on. Practices that does what? That combines software development and IT operation. Now, let me talk on development. Now, we're streamlining into software development. The reason why is that is because now when you say development can mean a whole lot to different set of people. Development can mean like developing something. Development can mean building of a house. Development can mean developing an application. Development, dictionary meaning will give you so many reasons. So, but then we're streamlining into software development because why? We're actually talking about DevOps. So we're seeing that a set of practices that combines software development and IT operation is the core thing, the core culture of DevOps. But now when we say software development, when we say development, what exactly are we talking about? Now, I like us to understand that when we say development that we're looking at in this context, it would be classified as maybe the process, right? The process of creating, designing, testing, and maybe maintaining your software applications. That's what we mean by when we say development. We're saying software development. So that means like the process of writing, the process of maintaining, the process of creating, the process of testing, right? All your software applications or systems. That's what we mean by software development or development in this context. I'm sure we have developers here that can easily relate with what I am saying, in the sense that I'm sure you know that if we are going to work on an application, every application that you see that you're making use of, didn't just jump out of somewhere. That application that you are seeing that you're making use of started with a process, of somebody imagining using an application to solve a problem. And that moves from that level to the level where, you have a developer who would start writing code, modifying the code, integrating codes. All of these processes are the things that what's it called, the developer does. So now that process, right, that involves writing of those codes, modifying of those code, integrating this code, creating, designing, testing, all of those processes, right? It's exactly what we refer to as development, which is software development. So all of those processes, what's the meaning? What's the reason behind all those processes? All those processes are the processes that involves the creation of a particular application, right? So that is what software development is all about. So now we have talked about software development. So I wouldn't want to go into the types of software development because that's not the core thing here, right? So, but if we already know that that's what software development is all about, then I'm sure it won't take much to be able to understand who a developer is, right? If we have said that software development is about, the process that involves writing of code, integrating your code, maintaining your code, testing your code, just to ensure that you arrive at a particular goal, which is ensuring building an application. Then whoever that does that is who you refer to as a developer. Now, the person that does that process, or the programmer, or the person that does that job, right, of writing the code, testing the code, designing the code, creating, maintaining, that's who you refer to as a developer. So most times it's usually a programmer, a software engineer. Now that's for development. Now, when we're talking about operations, what exactly do we mean by operations? Now, operations, in an easier way for us to be able to understand, I could refer operation to just that process, that involves maintaining, managing, and ensuring that there's stability and efficiency in the organization's entire IT infrastructure, right? Organization has an IT system, organization has an infrastructure, has systems, has an operation. Now, that operation now involves a process of doing what? On ensuring that there is efficiency, ensuring that there's a proper maintenance, ensuring that there's stability, and there's also security in the organization's IT systems. That's what operation is all about. Now, I decided to do this so that we'll be able to have a background knowledge as we make progress, so that we will not just be, like I said, so look as if I'm talking in abstract. So now I've been able to create a background knowledge of what development is. In this context, software development. Now I've also done the same thing with operations, in this context, IT operations. And now we're seeing that DevOps is that practices, those set of practices that combines these two things together. A set of practices, a culture, a way of behaving, right? A set of practices that you do that combines this software development that we've talked about and the IT operations that we've talked about. So just picture that in your head. The programmer is doing all this code, then the operation is doing the maintenance, doing the testing, ensuring that there's stability, ensuring there's efficiency, ensuring there's a security. Now, somebody is in their middle, combining both together, ensuring that both are working together. Why? To ensure that your product, your applications is delivered faster and is more reliable. That is what DevOps is. That is what DevOps is. So when you hear the word DevOps, that should be the first thing that comes to your mind. So, like I said, its primary aim is to do what? To shorten the system's development lifecycle, provide continuous delivery with high software quality. DevOps is built on a culture of what? Collaboration, integration, and automation to deliver software faster and more reliable. Now, DevOps key principles: collaboration. DevOps fosters a culture of collaboration between development and operation teams. It emphasizes shared responsibility, transparency, and communication across all teams involved in the software delivery process. then the benefit is to reduce silos, enhance problem solving, and speeds up what development life cycle. Now, when you talk about collaboration, here is what it is. I've already talked about what DevOps is, and I've given a picture of who a DevOps engineer is and what he does. Now, but one of the principles of DevOps is what collaboration. Don't forget, in the process, in the course of defining what DevOps is, there's a keyword there: combining, combining combining what software development and IT operation, right? So, and I've already given a picture of the person who does that and how that person is a DevOps engineer. So, if we are able to define that, one thing we should be able to pick out of that is that there is something called collaboration amongst the two, right? So, the culture of DevOps is to do what? Is to foster a culture of what? Collaboration between the development team and operation teams. Why? Because sometimes the developer is actually, after writing his code, testing his code, integrate, just ensuring that he's done with his own part, his application is fine. Now, the operation team is also worried about efficiency, worried about stability, worried about security as well, right? So, because most times, more often than not, their goals are different. More often than not, their responsibilities are different. So, there's usually of clash of work, in the sense that, when there's an issue, the DevOps guy points his finger at sorry, I said the DevOps guy, sorry. The developer points his finger at the operation points his finger at the developer. So this blame game goes on and on and on and on and on, and nothing is eventually accomplished. There's usually they don't have faster delivery of software, right? So that's the reason, that's one of the things that the DevOps do. It fosters collaboration between the development and the operation team. Take, for instance, I work as a DevOps engineer. It would be almost impossible for me to work without having to collaborate, both with the operation teams as well as the developers. It's almost impossible. So whenever I have an application I want to deploy, one of the first things I do is that I first and foremost want to know who the developer is. Why? Because I need to speak to the developer. I need to talk to the developer. I need to get some information from the developer regarding the applications, right? So that then before I begin to, put in my own part of the work. So one of the first things it does is that it enhances work collaboration. So it reduces silos. Silos means working in isolation, working separately. It reduces that. So, and that enhances what? Problem solving. Let me give an example. There's a particular application that I've deployed before, but there seems to be one or two things that needs to be done to that application. So there's been a bit of back and forth. So at some point I had to speak to the Python team lead. I told him, I said, okay, this. So we had to look at the issue together. What could be the problem? I had to try to troubleshoot on my own part. He also had to look at it as well from his own part, right? So what exactly has that done? That has enhanced problem solving, right? So I have brought solution from my own end. He has brought solutions from his own end as well. So that has done what? That has enhanced problem solving. That has been able to do what? Help us solve a problem. And that's problem that we're able to solve speedily like that. What has that done? That's sped up what? The development life cycle. Rather than that application lingering and lingering and lingering, what has happened? The application has gotten back to life. Why? Because why? Some persons did what? Collaborated to be able to resolve whatever the issue was and ensure that the application is up and running. So that is what we mean by collaboration. Then secondly, one of the DevOps key principles, automation. Now, automation in DevOps involves what? Using tools and scripts to automate repetitive tasks such as testing, deployment, and infrastructure management. Now, this helps to reduce human errors and speed up processes. Benefits that it increases efficiency, consistency, and what? Reliability of software delivery. Now, when we say automation, keyword in automation is what? Using tools and script to do what? To carry out a task, a repetitive task, right? A repetitive task, a task that has to be done over and again. Now, rather than me always coming to do that task again, or every now and then, I use tools, I use scripts to be able to repeat those same tasks without my human involvement generally, right? So that's what exactly we mean by automation. So when you hear the word automation, that is just, I mean, when I say automation, I'm talking of in the context of DevOps, tools and scripts to do what? To perform a repetitive task, a task that has to be done over and again, over and again, over and again. So using tools and scripts to be able to do that is what we mean by automation. And now, one thing I need to know, one thing I want us to understand is this. Now, when you use tools, and that what that has done is that has increased efficiency. What do you mean by efficiency? Efficiency is just simple. Efficiency is using just like we used to say something in the local parlance and say you're using one stone to kill two birds, right? Now, rather than me, efficiency is doing a lot of things, right? Within a reduced amount of time. That is what efficiency is all about. So I want to do 50 tasks. Now, instead of if those 50 tasks will take me, one of those 50 tasks will take me 5 minutes. Now, what it means is that for me to do those 50 tasks will be 50 multiplied by 5, right? Which is 250, right? That means it will take me 250 minutes to be able to carry out that task. Now, efficiency would help me. When we say efficiency is that thing that will help me to be able to do that task. Instead of me spending 250 minutes, I can spend, let's say, 10 minutes or even less to be able to do the same task. That's what efficiency is. Now, when you use tools and scripts, let me give an example. We had a case of where there was we had a case where we had the way you see your domain. When you input in, for instance, if I input in DEVOPS.com, now it takes me to DevOps page, right? Now, if I put in DevOps.com, I'm sure some of us must have had cases where you input maybe DevOps.com, using DevOps as a case study, DevOps.com. Now, rather than it taking you to DevOps page, the first page that shows up tells you that this site that we're about going to is not secure. I'm sure some of us have had that experience before. Now, this site you're about going to is not secure. So what happens? You see something like continue to site, or maybe you go back, something like that. So sometimes some of us, out of fear, we say, maybe it's not just say out of fear, but it is just wise. If something is telling you that where you are going to is not safe, I mean, you will to have a rethink as to whether to proceed or not, right? So now when we see that, sometimes some of us will proceed just to go and see what is happening there. I mean, to the particular site that we're told that it's not safe. Some of us will, back out because why? We want to be in a safe place. Now, there's a reason why that is happening. There's a reason why that is happening. Now, when it says that to you, and what is telling you that now that your domain is not having a secure protocol, sort of, right? Now, there's what we call SSL certificate. Now, SSL certificate is a secure protocol that you generate on your domain. Now, when you don't have that in place, now, if you input your domain, it will bring up that. Now, we had such case here where some of applications that are deployed, where we had a situation where the SSL certificate expired. Now, when the SSL certificate expired, funny enough, I didn't even know when Mr. Dinkada called me about it. So I looked at it and then I said, okay, go back and, regenerate the SSL certificate, right? So that the site, so that anytime you input in that domain, input that URL, it's not going to return that page that tells you that it's not secure. So while I was doing that, my team lead reached out to me and said, oh, why instead of you having to do this, why not write a script that will do what? That will automate that process. Why not write a script that will do what? That would renew that certificate, even without you coming to manually renew it yourself, right? So he told me that, and I said, oh, okay, that's true. That's a brilliant idea. And I had to write a script that did that. So what exactly has that done for me? Now, if the certificate is about to expire, I wouldn't need to bother myself to come and manually renew it, right? Because there's already a script that is doing that. That script automates that process of renewing the SSL certificate. So that's what we mean by automation in DevOps lifecycle. And let me start rushing. My time is going. I still have a lot to cover. But continuous integration. Continuous integration is a practice of merging all developer working copies to a shared mainline several times a day. Automated tests run with each merge to ensure code changes does not break the software. One of the benefits of continuous integration detects error quickly, improves code quality, and enables rapid feedback. Enables what? Rapid feedback. So continuous integration. See, it's very simple. Merging all developer working copies to a shared mainline several times a day. Quite a lot of developers, they are working, differently. They are working it differently, they're having their code written differently. Continuous integration helps you to be able to merge all of these copies, right? Merge all of them together to a particular mainline, right? You could do that several times a day. Then automated test will run with each merge to ensure code changes does not break the software. Now, next one, continuous delivery. Continuous delivery does what extends continuous integration by automatically deploying code changes to a staging or production environment after passing automated tests. This ensures the software can be released reliably at any time. The benefit is accelerates the release process, reduces deployment risk, improves user satisfaction by delivering features and fixes faster. Now, when we say continuous delivery, what exactly are we saying? It's an extension of what continuous integration does. But what in this case, what it does is that it deploys your code changes to either staging or production environment. Now, for instance, I as a DevOps engineer, now when a Python developer writes a code and builds a particular application, now to deploy this application, right? I'm meant to deploy this application to a particular environment. Do you understand? I meant to deploy the application to a particular environment. Let's take, for instance, a staging environment. I meant to deploy this application to a staging environment. Now, what continuous delivery does is this. Now, when the developer, take for instance, I'm sure all of us, when we all have applications on our phone. Now, the applications we have on our phone requires updates regularly. Now, when you update your phone, what has happened? You see new features. If new features has been added to the applications, you would start seeing those new features and you start benefiting out of those new features, right? Now, here's what happens. Now, an application has been built to do a specific function, right? Now, as time goes on, developer feels that there's a need for us to add new features to these applications. There's a need for us to infuse one or two things. Now, the developer does this. The developer doesn't have to shut down the applications to be able to do those changes. No, the developer just could impute those codes, right, into his section. Maybe he goes to his branch and add one or two codes to it that will bring out those new features that he desires. Now, when he does that, what does he do? When he does that, he pushes it. Now, when he pushes it, but before now, he must have done what we call a merge request with my branch. Why? Because my branch is where the deployment does. When we say deployment, now, if you hear the word say, okay, I'm deploying this application to production environment, do you know what that means? What that means is that I am taking the application to an environment called a production environment. Now, that environment is your server. In this case, production environment is usually live environment, right? And there are three stages majorly. You have your build, that's your dev environment, your staging environment or your test environment. Then you have your production or your live environment. So your application passes through all the stages. Now, the dev environment is where the writing of the codes and all of those processes are all done. The staging environment, which is a test environment, is where you test your applications to ensure that you add everything you want to add everything you want to add, then before the applications move to the production. Now, when I could deploy to move the application to a live environment where customers can access those applications. That is what I do. If I move it to a live environment, if I move it to a staging environment, I have moved it to an environment where we still need to do few testing here and there. Now, what continuous delivery will help you achieve is that when the developer writes new code or infuses new things into that application, because he has done a merge request in my branch, what happens is that if he pushes those codes move automatically. It moves automatically. It merges with my branch, right? Reviews it. If everything is fine, the pipeline passes. Once the pipeline passes, those changes have been introduced into it. Now, if there are issues, it will fail in the pipeline. So when it fails, meaning those changes have not been infused, the application is still the way it was. Now, but if it passes, those changes have been infused into the application, then automatically the application gets those new features, right? So now that is what continuous delivery does. It helps to be able to do what? Deploy those code changes that the developer has done straight, right? If it is the staging environment, it deploys it straight to the staging environment. So that is one of the key principles, right, of this thing. So sorry, I had to take time, because if I do not explain it that way, like I said, it will not make sense. I just come and read, and you will not pick anything. No, that's not the best. Now, what is security in DevOps? Definition of DevSecOps, that's development, security, and operations. Now, the shift left approach integrating security early in the development process. Now, while I talk about security in DevOps, I think there was a particular time, I think Victoria asked me a question regarding something that has to do with security and all of that. And I think I made an example. I said, see, almost, if not all of us, let's say almost all of us have phones, or maybe almost all of us have PCs as well. Now, one of the things that you do on your phone or your PC is that you install what you call antivirus. Now, when you install antivirus, what is antivirus doing for you? Antivirus is helping you to prevent against attack. Antivirus is helping you to be able to be preventing your phone against attack. And antivirus is also helping you to deal with attacks as well. That's what your antivirus is doing for you. This is just me putting it in a layman's term. It helps you to be able to do what? To defend against attacks. So once there is a virus, that has been released that is meant to come into your phone or into your PC, your antivirus helps you to be able to do what? Stands as a defender of your phone or a defender of your PC, so that those virus doesn't have access into your phone. Those viruses doesn't have access into your PC and disrupt a lot of things. That is what antivirus is doing. Now, picture that, since you already know what antivirus is and what it does. Now, picture that the way that antivirus is working in your phone, picture it as security in DevOps. Now, I have explained what DevOps is, right? I've explained what development is, who a developer is, operation, IT operation, and what it's all about. I've explained what DevOps is. Now, I've tried as much as I can to give examples so that we can understand very well. Now, picture security in DevOps. Now, that's what we're looking at. Because why? If not, anything could happen to the codes and a lot of things will go wrong. Anything could even happen, even in the deployment process as well, right? That can go wrong. That will ensure that you have that will bring issues into your entire software. And I'm sure no customer wants to use an application that is not secure. No customer wants to use an application that have issues. Everybody runs away from anything that has a semblance of insecurity. Now, that's why we're looking at security in DevOps. Now, DevSecOps is an extension of DevOps that does what? That integrates security practices in the DevOps process. Now, it emphasizes the importance of incorporating security measures at every stage of your software development lifecycle. So rather than treating security as an afterthought, the goal of DevSecOps is what? Is to deliver secure software rapidly and efficiently by embedding security controls and processes from the outset. Very simple. Now, we are working on what? An application. I'm looking at, what's it called? Deploying an application. Now, the thinking is very simple. Rather than me waiting until my application receives an attack before I respond with security measures, why not me integrate security measures at the early stage, right, of that software development lifecycle, at the early stage of it? Why not me integrate security measures, security practices, so that I won't have to wait. Because if you do it as an afterthought, that would be you being reactive. Because if you're introducing security as an afterthought, then that becomes you are putting on reactive measures. You're putting on reactive measures, and that can never help you, right? So that's the reason why what we incorporate security measures at every stage of your software development life, at every stage, right? So that like you see here, you don't treat security as an afterthought. So it doesn't become a thing of later. Oh, we're supposed to have done this, but we didn't. No, you integrate security at every stage of it. Now, key concepts in DevSecOps: the shift left approach. Description: the shift left approach in DevSecOps involves integrating security early in the development process. This means security practices are embedded in the development process from the initial planning and design stages through to coding, testing, and deployment. Now, what are the benefits of this? By identifying and addressing security issues early, organizations can reduce vulnerabilities, lower the cost of fixing security problems, and ensure a more secure final product. Remember what I said? I said that nobody would be safe to use an application that he knows that is not secure. Nobody would want to, right? Because why? First and foremost, his personal data becomes vulnerable. That's one of the reasons why nobody wants to use an application that is not secure. Now, but here's what we're saying. That first, looking at the concept, I was saying that the first approach, which is the shift left approach, right, involves integrating security early enough in the development process. That means those development process that involves you writing of your code, integrating your code, maintaining your code, testing your code, and all of that. That early stage, integrating security in that early stage, right? It helps. What does it do? With that, you can identify security issues early. You can identify when there's a problem with your code. You can identify when there's a problem, with your design stages. You can identify when there's a problem with those stages early enough. Now, when you identify those stages early enough, what does that do to you? It helps you to be able to reduce vulnerabilities. It helps you to be able to lower your cost of fixing a security problem. Like we all know, if you are treating security as an afterthought, you spend more, right? Because your application has been damaged. So you spend more, right? But when you integrate security early enough, right? It just like I've given an example of your phone. It costs you less to install antivirus in your phone, right? It costs you less to install antivirus in your phone than you not having antivirus in your phone, and your phone gets attacked. And what you need to now go back and maybe flash your phone and go through all of the process that you need to go to get your phone back to normal thing. It will cost you more. Just picture that and infuse that into what I'm saying here. In all your development process that involves you writing your code, testing your code, planning and designing all of these processes, the shift left approach helps you to be able to do what? Integrate security early enough in those processes. And you integrating it early enough, it will help you to do what? To address security issues early enough so that you won't have to pay more. Now, common security in DevOps. Misconfigurations. Now, misconfigurations occur when system settings or applications are not configured correctly, leaving them vulnerable to attacks. This can include incorrect permissions, exposed endpoints, and improper access controls. Now, these are some of the challenges that you face. And we've said that one of those challenges is misconfiguration. When configurations are not set properly. Some of the issues you are going to experience are what you're seeing on the screen here, right? You are going to be vulnerable to attack. And like the slide here is making us understand. Hey, let me look at my time. Jesus, 9:44. So this can include incorrect permissions, improper access control. If there's no proper access control, your applications can be actually vulnerable to attacks. So you can be vulnerable to all kinds of attacks. Let me put this stop here. Thank you very much, everyone. When next I come,
thank you so much.
please,
I was about asking how many
into
slides do you have left?
I still have
Because we are
quite a
kind
few.
of running out of time.
I'm still going to come back to be able to dive also deep into the tools so that we can understand the tools.
Hi, James, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Please, can anyone hear me? Just so I'm sure that it's not coming from
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, so I'm saying that I will need to pick a day again, then come around to be able to also move into the tools as well proper.
Okay, so that's not a problem. Perhaps maybe when we have another time, you can just finish on the slides.
Yes.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Please, I know we may have questions, but we'll ask the questions some other time. I hope everyone can hear me. Hello, please, can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you,
Victoria. Yeah, everybody can jot down their question. Like I said, I'm going to just pick a day. It might even be before my scheduled day for next month. I might just pick a day, come and finish up. Then I will be able to attend to all the questions.
Okay, no problem. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. Do have a productive day.
Thank you.